report your state trooper.
I'm Trooper Dave Levendusky of the Indiana State Police.
My first name is very difficult to pronounce for some people. It's Dwight Marvin.
Marvin.
And my last name is Smalley, S-M-A-L-L-E-Y.
And what's your PE number?
1074.
And can you tell me when you were sworn in and when you retired?
I was sworn in on the first day of September of 1960.
1960.
Yeah.
And then you retired in 89.
Yes.
What made you want to become an Indiana State Trooper?
A man by the name of Paul Doherty, who was a trooper in Grant County, and he'd been assigned to Ligonier Post way back when, and he came back. He and my parents went to school together, so they met each other, and I saw the trooper for the first time. I probably saw him before but didn't know it, and when I got home I said, that's what I want to be, and I never changed my mind. It was a good decision.
So how did Paul influence your decision? Did he do anything, or was it just that you were enamored by him?
All the above.
All the above.
But he looked good in his uniform. He had a nice looking uniform. He was kind to the children. All the good things happened. And I just wanted to be like him. I didn't know exactly what that meant, but I'd worry about that later.
So you became a trooper in 1960. What was the hiring process like at that time?
We made an application, like everybody. Then it was random because we didn't know when they were going to make the next call. And eventually they get to your name. If you weren't there, you joined the next group. It was a tense time. There were a lot of people who wanted to be on the department, but not everybody made it.
How long was academy?
As I remember, don't know for sure, but I think it was 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
Yeah.
And what was academy like when you went through it?
It was like all academy things, all instruction. It was good, it was bad. It was just an amazing feat. Every day you got up, there was something new going on. The instruction is very shallow compared to today, but we liked it, we enjoyed it, and I don't know how many people stayed and how many people went, but it was good.
Do you remember who your roommate was in academy?
I had 2 roommates. I have to remember their names now. The first one was, I can't remember their name. His father was a trooper.
Okay.
And then he got hurt, I think. One of them did anyway. Then the younger one, the son, left the department. We never knew for sure why he left, but he left the department, didn't finish.
Were there any difficult moments you experienced while you were at academy?
Not that I recall, or we'll talk about. I don't know that there was anything significant. It was pretty well planned. It was very basic compared to today. I don't think there was any significant surprises.
Where were you first assigned after you graduated?
That's another thing that's difficult to explain because I was assigned to the toll road. I was not very happy about that, as were not many people. Not many troopers wanted to be assigned to the toll road. Although in retrospect, it was a good assignment. So they assigned me to Ligonier for, I think it was 2 months, to get better training than I was going to get the way they had it set up, which was probably unfair to the department and to the toll road. But that's what they did.
Do you have any memorable experiences from your first few years as a trooper?
I saw troopers assembled in masses that I didn't imagine existed. But that was a surprise to me. Not good or bad, it's just I was surprised about that.
Do you remember what it was for? The reason why they were all assembling like that?
They did a lot of public safety driving.
Oh, okay.
That was one thing. They had 4-H camps there. They had boys camp, girls camp, and a lot of things that drew the troopers into Indianapolis instead of the troopers going out to lots of different places.
What was your first car?
My first car was a 1936 3.6. I can't remember if it was a Chevrolet or a Ford. It was an old thing. Barely would run. Then I didn't keep that very long because it wasn't safe really.
Were you assigned to any special details like the state fair or the 500, anything like that?
Initially, no, because we weren't seasoned enough to be able to do that. I'm not sure. The first assignment was probably closer to 1962. There was no school in 61. But that's probably when it was the first time. I worked a fair. That's probably the first big event that I worked.
The state fair?
Yes.
Do you remember your experience there? Was it difficult or did anything interesting happen?
I don't know. I don't remember anything interesting. It was just an event that I wanted to be at because of all the other troopers, and it worked out pretty well.
Were you still at Ligonier when you went to the state fair?
I was, yeah.
Did you have to stay in Indianapolis when you came down for that?
Well, I lived in Ligonier, which is quite a ways north.
It is.
So probably, I'm not sure I remember that very clearly.
Okay. What was your first promotion?
The first promotion was to sergeant. That was in, I think it was September of 1960, about four and a half years later after I got promoted.
So mid-1960s probably?
Yeah, it was.
What were you in charge of as a sergeant?
I was in charge of me. That's all I cared about.
Were you still at the Ligonier post when you were assigned a sergeant?
I don't remember.
Okay.
It was either that or the toll road. I doubt it was a toll road. So it was probably Ligonier.
Now, did you have troopers underneath you that had to report to you while you were sergeant?
No. That would have been. That would have created a rebel review anyway, probably.
What is one of the most dramatic changes you've seen to the Indiana State Police during your career?
What I remember is mostly the good things about the department. There weren't really any bad things, but some brought about a better return than others. There were so many different things. You probably would know better than I. But the shield on the car changed many times. The color of the car changed inordinate amount of times.
Yes, it did.
That's a pretty good word. But everybody got along pretty well. We had radio equipment, but it was very basic. And eventually they were able to take the example from the federal government. So we kicked up our investments and got more significant radio instruments. And it helped us, it helped them, it helped. Right now, you can talk, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but because I didn't have this nice stuff that they have today. So if you see a trooper using a radio, he could be talking to Lake Shore in northwest Michigan. They could be talking to southern Indiana. It's just equipment improved that much. And it took a lot of training to teach them this new equipment, how it works. And that took some time.
What was the uniform like when you first started?
Just like it was when I left, primarily. They didn't change the uniform too much, which was a constant haggle. Somebody always had a new shirt, a new pair of pants, a new something like that. But the important thing was to keep the state police looking like it always did, so people would know who's state police and other police departments. So it changed more than we wanted it to at the time. Didn't hurt anything in retrospect, but we thought it did.
Was there anything about the uniforms that you didn't like?
It could have been, it could have had a patch on a pair of shorts. I would have loved to wear that wherever I was. But I don't think there was any big deal over that.
What position did you hold that makes you most proud?
This is going to seem like rhetoric, but it's all of them.
All of them?
I felt responsibility, significant responsibility in every one of them. Most of them were along the same line, but like public information, management, training, schooling, all those different kinds of things. I signed up for every school I could get my hands on, because I had a sense that those promotions would mean something, and they did eventually along the way.
What was the highest rank you held?
That was major.
Major?
Yeah.
And what were you in charge of as a major?
Probably nothing. I was in charge of public information, and I went to, gosh, what else did I do? They don't have the memory imprint that, the older ones did.
You said that you were in training as well.
Training was significantly important. I didn't want that to be the end of my career, but I just wanted that to be recognized for what it is. Training, without training, you can't have a department, in my opinion. Hopefully we never use it. We never have to put it, but we do a lot of training. They do a lot of training.
What kind of decisions or tasks did you have during your time as major in charge of public information?
Everyone was significant in my mind, and people I worked with. It was guys, all guys back in that time. I didn't see it as a detriment to anything, but it was just a stepping stone to something else.
You mentioned that you went to a lot of different training opportunities. What were some of your favorites that you went to?
They're all about equal balance. I went to the FBI Academy, which is something that I dreamed of going to. It was harder than I thought it was going to be, but it worked out. Northwestern Traffic Institute was another one. I did a lot of consulting for state police and other departments.
You mentioned the FBI Training Academy. What did you learn while you were there?
I learned how to work with other people, other police agencies, because everybody's got their own opinion. And I was amazed at how easy they got along together. It seemed like we didn't at times, but we had jurisdictional problems sometimes. But there was give and take on both sides. I think that training carried over with me in almost everything I did. How to do something, what to do, what not to do.
What was a difficult case that you had to deal with while you were a trooper?
Probably the most difficult case, which was never solved. A fellow that I had met while he was going to school. He wanted to become a trooper, so we talked a lot about that. I felt what I got I should give. And pretty much he was from Fairmont, Indiana. He was trying to study to become a trooper. Anyway, he was murdered a few years ago, and all the time they were working trying to solve his murder. It never happened.
Were you involved in any specialty teams?
No, I spent all my time working special interests, I guess. But I didn't. I wasn't a scuba diver. I wasn't all those kind of things. Need for all those, but I just thought maybe I could do something different.
Now, you were important to the state police's planning of the Pan Am Games that came through in 1987. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Pan Am Games were the first significant event that came from out of state, and the local departments didn't have the right equipment. We had most of the equipment available that we could have used, and then we expanded from there. It got much better as the years went on. But you're talking about the Pan Am Games, then you're talking about the Olympics, and several of those kind of games. We all learned a lot from those special events. We had a great training opportunity and a great learning responsibility. People, they knew what they ought to do, but they didn't know where the equipment was. They didn't know the training they needed. But with incorporating the federal government into it, first of all, it helped us get federal money to buy things. We had some way to go to bring some FBI agents in and help, because they had some big guns, literally and figuratively.
What was the process of preparing for those games like?
Just to listen to your supervisor, because there wasn't time to totally train the younger people. You did the best you could do, but as time went on, I think that just kind of was the first area of business, train the troopers.
Were there any issues that you dealt with during the Pan Am Games?
Such as?
Any things that happened that you had to deal with quickly, or the Indiana State Police had to deal with quickly?
Many things we had to be done with quickly. That wasn't just me, that was a lot of other people that were, the troopers and specialists, people that dug in. They got their training, and we became a much better trained organization.
Were there any other big events or big things that came to Indiana that you were a part of?
Something called the 500-mile race was always with us every year. Can never get over that. State Fair, 500-mile race, those are all ingrained training needs. So that's what we concentrated on. But we started at the end of the race planning for the next one. And I think that helped contribute to everybody on the state police being well trained and helping others as we could.
Are there any stories that you'd like to share with us?
Every day was every day when I was working, and I'm not sure that, I don't know if I could tell you the significance. Everything we did was important. I think everybody felt the same way, and they used the information they gathered to put it back out on the road and either buy something if it was available or borrow it. It was always around someplace. The federal government came into play with around that time. They gave us equipment that we didn't have or wouldn't have, and then we took that training and gave it back to the local police departments, county sheriffs, people like that.
Did you meet any celebrities or politicians during your time as trooper?
That's what the state fair is all about. Yeah.
Anyone that sticks out in your memory?
I have a picture around here someplace. Roy Rogers was there. He was still coming around on the circuit. He was my big hero. And I have a couple, 3 pictures with him. I got to shake hands with him again, and I liked that. I had a brief meeting with Reagan, George W.
Are there any stories that you would often share with fellow officers or law enforcement? Like trading stories?
Probably more than I can remember. I imagine that most of those stories were shared pretty quickly when they came back, so they could be first. If it was something I had done that somebody else couldn't do, we shared that eventually.
What are some things that you learned about yourself during your time as a trooper?
I learned that the rank and file of the department didn't always have a great deal of interest in what the supervisors were doing, as long as they stayed out of their way. But that was a big thing. They worked together when they had to. The rank helped because they could assign them to different level of activity than lower rank. I don't mean to make it sound like it was a bag of cookies, but it was well handled, I think, between the different ranks.
What are things that you learned about others or people in general during your time on the department?
They're not always as friendly as they seem. I was amazed at the interest that local departments, local, state, federal, spent with local police, deputy sheriffs and those people. That's where it was needed. So we tried to farm it out to them as much as possible. Didn't always work, but that was our goal.
How did the world change during your years with the Indiana State Police?
It went from exploding firecrackers on the 4th of July to blowing up buildings and cars. You know, big difference there between the two. But that was probably what I noticed. It could be me. You know, before I never let that bother me. Didn't consider it until about that time, and that's everybody's looking out for themselves.
What do you want people to know about the Indiana State Police?
It's the greatest organization in the world. I mean, and I don't say that flippantly, but I say that with as much passion as I can muster, which is not a lot. But I think that's important for people to know how important their state police is to them. Because without the state police, you could sit down and figure out what you would lose, and that would be significant. And it will always change for the good, I hope, for the training, I hope, for all the other things.
Do you have any words of wisdom for young troopers or people that are interested in becoming troopers?
Get a lot of training. Practice it. Get to know your fellow troopers and your supervisors, who have I think the supervisors have really the biggest job in the department. There'd be a lot of argument, and it would be a valid argument, but in my opinion, they have to work together. They have to know what each other's doing. They have to know what each other's problems are. You know, are you and your wife getting a divorce? Things that interfere with your job. Can we help you in any way? That didn't always happen, but it should have.
Do you have any words of wisdom for people that want to become troopers?
Graduate from high school, graduate from college, go on to grad school, get as much education as you can possibly get to help you along. The department will change while you're there. Get ready for that to help them come along and not waste all that time. I just talked to a trooper wannabe yesterday, as a matter of fact, and he had talked to his aunt, whose mother was his mother, however that fits in. And so all three of us were talking, and what I said, if you want me to help you, then let me know and come and we'll talk about it. But that was somebody who, I don't know if he will or not. If he doesn't, that's his fault.
Well, thank you so much, Marv. We appreciate you talking with us.
Nice meeting you.
It was our pleasure.
Don't wait so long to come back, guys. It'll be just like it is today. Who knows what color the state police cars will be, but
Probably something totally different.
they'll be doing the job that they were always done.